Hey, welcome to the Strategic Success Podcast. I'm your host, Courtney Fricke. Thanks for tuning in. Wyatt, welcome to the Strategic Success Podcast. I'm excited to have our conversation. I was trying to remember, we've known each other for just a few years now.
Yep.
And through some mutual friends. And so let's start off by introducing people. Who are you? Where are you based out? And what do you kind of do? What do you focus on?
Yeah, glad to be here too, Courtney. We respect all that you do. We just did a deal together. It was
Yeah,
a great deal. So
yeah,
so thanks for that.
yeah.
Wyatt Graves. I'm a real estate broker. I've been a broker for almost 25 years now, which is kind of hard to believe.
Mhm.
I have asked myself a lot lately, what is it that I want to be known for? What do I do?
Yeah.
One of the words, or a couple of the words that have recently sort of resonated with where I'm at right now is transformational leader
Mhm.
and a super connector. What does that mean? It means that I like to see the potential in other people and help encourage them to live into it.
Mhm.
I happen to sell real estate. I happen to be a real estate broker. I often refer to myself as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Um,
So you have businesses,
because I
right?
have
Multiple.
businesses. Yep, have
Yeah.
multiple businesses. Have put my hat in the ring for a lot of different businesses over the 25 years that I've been out of high school.
Mhm.
I'm still in the childcare business. I grew that business to 7 centers along the way. I've sold all of them except for one
Yeah.
that I still own. Have the real estate brokerage. I'm a real estate investor. I
Mhm.
have 105 doors right now. We have 18 under contract, and we'll be putting 24 new doors into use on that same property. Uh, Hopefully, maybe this year we'll finish them. Time is ticking right now.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, and is all your investments in Louisiana? Have you ever gone out of state?
no, no, I need to go out of
Well,
state.
part of me is like, hey, I don't blame you for going out of state, but at the same time, I know a lot of people are tempted to go out of state, especially, it's not always easy. Louisiana is not a huge market.
Well, you're right. It's just comfortable, right? The
Hmm.
first multifamily deal that we did that was pretty big, we were told not to do it because the numbers didn't pencil out the way that other people underwrite.
Yeah,
But it's in my backyard and I know the numbers, and the numbers that
exactly.
I know are not what they're making us use for underwriting. We did the deal. It's been a great deal. I'm glad that we did it. It's in my backyard.
I'm glad
So
that
it's
you
just
say
more
that.
comfortable.
So, Aussie Steve, him and I would talk a lot. And so many people, when they look at the New Orleans market, the Louisiana market, they're like, oh, but, you want to look at jobs, you want to look at population, you want to look at all
Sure.
these things. And I'm like, look, I get that. Those are market factors, but you don't understand that there is a competitive advantage of something being in a market that you know.
That's right.
Sure, I could go into a market that has those better market factors, but if I don't know it, then there's a learning curve to that,
That's
and
right.
that's going to take what was penciled out and diminish it to a degree too.
That's right.
There's that learning curve that diminishes those returns that no one can escape. And so okay, so broker, business owners, you know, um, you own very various different businesses. So you've got the childcare center. What other businesses do you have?
So I have a flipping business, a remodel business.
Hmm.
I have a joint venture where we're building spec houses also from the
Hmm.
ground up. We do simple land subdivides.
Okay.
We do property management as well. I have a
Okay.
joint venture in the mortgage business
Okay.
where we're doing home loans.
Hmm.
I have a podcast. I
Hmm.
have a podcast, and I have a membership-based community called the Mentee and the
Hmm.
Mentorship Mastermind community.
Yep.
That's been really my passion project. That's what I want to get back to. I want to do more of that,
Hmm.
probably more than anything.
Yeah.
I love helping people. I'm a teacher at heart. I just happen to be an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Yeah.
So I think that's about all. I mean, I have a co-living company where we are taking homes and converting them to. Um, it's kind of like a boutique hotel, and
Hmm.
we're renting out the bedrooms, the private bedrooms and private bathrooms, like a private suite. And the vision there, it's called Vibe Living, and the vision there is that we not only provide housing for folks,
Hmm.
but we also provide a community for those
Right.
tenants or those housemates to engage within to help them live the good
Yeah.
life beyond just affordable housing.
You mentioned the word the good life. A lot of what you do is under would it be correct to say under that umbrella? But I
Yeah.
know that's a very strong one for you. What does that mean and how does that, how does that intertwine all these things?
That's a good question. That's a big
Yeah,
question.
exactly. We got to ask the big questions here.
The good life came about right after the great flood of 2016. A lot of stuff was happening in my personal life with kids, marriage, sports, work. Just we were burning the candle at both ends of of the wick. We're on the hamster wheel. The flood happened. It made me just kind of peel back the curtain and say, "What are we doing? What am I doing this for?" Right?
Yeah.
And I took a 10-month hiatus from my real estate job and from the work that I had been doing prior to the flood because I needed to survive.
Mhm.
And that was really the first W 2 job that I've had as an adult. And while I was there, I realized that I'm born to be a teacher and I love real estate. And I wanted to go back into that field and do it in a different way. What way would I do it?
Yeah.
And so I started soul searching. I joined a mastermind that Jeff Woods was a part of, and
Mhm.
he had the mentee. And at the time, he was leaving that world to go to the one thing world with Gary Keller at
Mhm.
Keller Williams.
Mhm.
And he led me through an exercise that's called goal setting to the now.
Mhm.
And it's this model of setting goals where you transport yourself into the future, way out into the future,
Yeah.
and you get a sense of what you want in your life way out into the future. And then you reverse engineer that back to create your plan to move forward.
Yeah.
And as I did that, I realized that key relationships were my number one priority. And that if I wanted key relationships to be there in 30 years from now, I had to spend time with those people today,
Yeah.
right? You can't sacrifice time today,
Right.
get to where you're going, and then hope you have friends. You have to work on
Yeah.
that. And it was in that exercise and brainstorming around what I would do post flood that the good life was born. It's not the great life because that doesn't seem real, right? It doesn't seem wholesome. And it's not the bad life either, right?
Mhm.
So it's just consistent, solid. What I wanted for my world, for my life,
Mhm.
not relative to the circumstances or the situations around me, but what did I want?
Yeah.
And really, it was a tough decision to come to because the thing is, there's all these pressures on what we think people want for us.
Right.
And if I live into what I think other people want for my life, that's not the good life.
Yeah.
So the good life ultimately is helping somebody live from what they really want, not what they think other people want, right?
Right.
Having clarity around with their desired future self, whatever that is,
Yeah.
which is different, right? Your good life is different from mine. So really, it's just being
Truly.
intentional around the life that you want to live. That's the good life.
I think that that's so critical because, as a good book says, without lack of vision, people perish,
Yep,
right? And it's this idea that if you don't have vision, what happens? You usually facilitate someone else's vision,
that's right.
like as default.
That's
And
right.
and so many people don't get to taste a good life because they're kind of in default serving other people's visions, and they don't really know either what they want or how they could get it. And I'll say this, you know, I refer to my gray-haired mentors a lot, but majority of my mentors are in their 70s, mid to late 70s, and by hanging out a lot with them the last 5 years, um, one, it's been fun because they're in a very different life stage,
Sure.
and as they're in their sunsetting years, it's been really interesting what, as a byproduct, has happened. One, it's been a part of their message, but it's also I got very clear on what I wanted. Like I've had tremendous amount of clarity, and what's interesting, and I don't know if it's a direct, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. I found that when I got around folks who were on the sunsetting, years of their life, I had a lot of clarity because they were like, Courtney, think about where you want to arrive. They got me thinking then, got me thinking, I mean, estate planning,
Yeah.
things like that. And, what type of debt do I want to arrive with? What type of properties do I own and have,
So good.
like clarity on that, not just I want to have real estate when I retire, but
Yep.
like all of those things. Where do I want them to, all of those things. But then I realized that when in the beginning, the first 5 years of my investing career, I was chasing a lot of what I would call the new school guys who, I mean, it was shiny object syndrome for me. And
Hmm.
so I had lack of clarity because, I mean, the world was their oyster,
Yeah.
right? And so it's been a what do you think on that? Like, as far as clarity, because how many times do we meet someone who is aimless. They're like, I don't know what I want out of life.
Yeah.
Young folks, hey, I want to do something. I want to invest in real estate. I want to, maybe go start businesses.
Yeah.
What advice do you give to people who are trying to figure that out?
Well, it sounds like you did the goal setting to the now model with your gray haired
Hmm.
mentors. Is that what you call them? Gray haired mentors? Yeah. They sold you to go out into the future and really think about what you want. And they gave you some categories to set goals around,
Yeah.
which is what we do when we facilitate somebody's clarity of their desired future self.
Hmm.
We talk about 7 categories: your spiritual life, your physical health, your personal world,
Hmm.
your key relationships, your job, your business, and your finances.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want from those categories in 30 years from now?
Yeah.
And let's reverse engineer. The reality, though, and this is what Jeff Woods taught me, um, the hack is to find clarity on what you want and then find people that are already living it and go get into a relationship with those people.
Yeah.
Which he bases that hack on Jim Rohn's quote: "You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with."
Yeah.
And so it's really easy. When you get clear on what you want, go find people that are already living it. And by default, you're going to live into those goals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The problem with the most people and the shiny object syndrome is that most people set goals from their current position,
Yeah.
right? And so when I'm teaching these classes around goal setting, I talk about where I'm at now. When I look back, I can clearly see a straight line
Hmm.
of events, right, that occurred that led to where I'm at.
Right.
But when I look to the future, man, all these options, right? There's so many different ways that I can go, right? But if I just make a decision from my current situation, then I might take 2 steps left. And then if I make decisions from that current situation in a year now, then I go 2 steps right while I'm back where I started 2 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And over the course of time, 30 years from now, I end up 2 steps right and one up, right? If I'm drawing this on a map, it's like all this little space that I've traveled back and forth, left, right, up, down, and I don't really change.
Yeah.
Whereas if I get intentional about my vision 30 years from now, I might decide that I want to go here. Then I can backtrack and start where I'm at and make it there or make it closer to there than over here if I decide and make decisions based on where I'm currently at.
Yeah.
So, helping people understand to transport themselves in time, get clear and get a sense of where they want to go, and then make decisions based around that, which include finding other people that are already living that life.
Yeah.
To me, that's how you make real progress towards your good life.
I love that. And when I met my first gray-haired mentor, I've had, 5 of them. When I met the first one, something in me stood up and said, I had been told that this is what real estate looks like, and then I just met this person who is not that, and I was like, "Whoa, I want that."
Yeah.
And we grow into the conversations we're around. So I just got around him as much as possible.
Yep.
Like to the extent that he had a real estate crawfish boil at his house. And it was like an all-day crawfish boil, kind of like a slow boil type of thing. Come early, leave late,
Yeah.
Mississippi
Yeah.
style. And I think I was at his house for like 10 plus hours. Like it
Wow.
was like a crazy, like one of those, like I came early to help and I stayed late to help. And it was one of those things I was like, I didn't want to leave. I wanted to spend as much time as I could learning from him. And I
Sure.
was like, I will go dump the crawfish heads in the lake. I will go take the trash out just to continue around the
Yep.
conversations. And I think a lot of that is it's finding and getting around those people. And so with that being said, like I know that, culture is really big, with you, obviously I'm sharing tonight at the investor meetup that you
Yeah.
have. Tell me this, like when it comes to that, getting around people, what do you think that does? What do you think when you get around other people who are maybe dreaming, who are trying to better themselves, what do you see from the cultures you're building in your businesses?
Well, here's a thing that I teach all the time, and it's what you just said about that first conversation that you had, right? Where you thought real estate was one way, then you had one conversation and discovered that it was something different. Here's the slogan: People don't know what they want; they only want what they know.
Yeah,
We never wanted a cell phone until we knew that cell phones existed.
yeah,
And then we wanted one, right? We never wanted a CD, and then we knew that CDs existed. We never wanted an iPod or an
right,
MP3 player until somebody told us that they existed.
yeah,
So the choices that you have to decide or to choose from are limited to what you know.
right,
And you don't know everything. You don't know a fraction of the options that are out there. So if you want a greater sense of choice and bigger options to choose from, then the number one thing that you can do is get exposure to new ideas, new people, new
Yeah.
conversations. If you make a commitment to that, here's the part that you're suggesting, which is words create worlds.
Yeah.
And when you get around a group of people that are intentional
Yeah.
about anything,
Hmm.
right? Just people that are not on autopilot, people that are chasing their dreams. It could be real estate, it could be physical health, it could be relationships, it could be investing, whatever. When you get around intentional people, they're going to expose you to new ideas, new concepts, new words. And when that happens, then somebody else speaks up and they share their aha or their insight, which then exposes that person to a new aha that they wouldn't have had they not spoken up when they got inspired from the first person, right? So I love to get intentional people in the same room and facilitate a great conversation by asking good questions, right? That's tapping into the collective genius of the whole group. And I feel like that's where superpowers are born. So these investor meetups
Hmm.
occur so that people who have been sitting on the sidelines, they've been dreaming about being an investor, but
Right.
they only know the one way that to invest is their way, and most people think that it takes a lot of money,
Hmm.
it takes a lot of credit, right? It takes experience and wisdom, and so it keeps them on the sidelines.
Right.
But if they'll come to these meetings, then meeting by meeting they'll be exposed to something that you say, which sparks something that somebody else says, that then gives them the courage to go out and make a phone call and maybe, just maybe, get a deal a way that they never thought they could get a deal. And once you get the
Right.
first deal, the seal is broken, right? And then
Yeah.
you get addicted to it. And then just 10 deals later, and you're doing things that you never thought you could do,
Right.
but it's because you didn't know the other ways to do it.
And I love that, because really that's what it's been. A lot of people have asked me about clarity, and a lot of that has been just exposure. Trial and error and exposure
Yep.
have really been the two main ways I've gotten clarity. It's trial and error, is going out and trying things and being like, that's really not for me. I thought it was, but and that's just something that you almost just have to do.
I agree.
And let's kind of take that back to, with your businesses. And this was something I was curious about. So, you first started in businesses, right? It was business first, then
I
real estate.
graduated high school and became a real estate agent
Okay, so it was
while I was
agent
in
first.
college.
Okay.
And in my real estate career, I found a child care center for sale.
Okay.
So I was 20 years old, a licensed realtor, full time college student, and I found the daycare for sale.
Mhm.
And they were asking $550,000 for it. It was listed with a business broker back then.
Yep.
And I made an offer and they rejected it and didn't tell us why. The listing expired. I went back to the sellers and said, you know what? I want to revisit that offer. We revisited with them and they said, God just didn't answer. God gave us an answer and said that it's just not supposed to be. Well, I had been praying for clarity as well, and I felt God telling me that it was supposed to be.
Right.
So I told the sellers, I said, well, here's what's strange is God told me that it's supposed to happen. You're telling me that he told you it's not supposed to happen. So one of us is wrong.
Mhm.
So let's go back to the
Yeah.
right. Let's go back to our knees and pray and come back together. We were able to come back together, and they did, which is funny. I was 20 years old. I had been gifted 3 acres and a trailer
Mhm.
to start. Right. I had an aunt that was also a small real estate investor, and she said, "Wyatt, I'm going to gift this to you to get started in your
Yeah.
entrepreneurial endeavors." I thought I was going to do a trailer park on it.
Mhm.
And so I used my wherewithal as a real estate agent to have the land surveyed and divided in half. I sold the acre and a half for $15,000 back then,
Mhm.
and I sold the acre with a trailer, the acre and a half with a trailer for 35,000. So I had $50,000 cash, and the sellers decided they would sell me that daycare for $420,000. They were asking 550.
Yeah.
I went and got a loan for $250,000, an SBA loan, put my 50 down, and the seller's owner financed
The 100.
$120,000 interest free for 10 years.
Hey guys, Courtney Fricke here. We've got Aussie Steve. And look, if you have a deal that needs to get moved, Southeast Louisiana, even in South Mississippi, we're your folks. We are the largest dispo company, really in the greater New Orleans area, even Southeast Louisiana. We have great contacts in South Mississippi as well. Steve, why do we move more deals than others?
just we're very deep in this market. So Greater New Orleans can be really confusing for national wholesalers. The comps are hard. We change block for block. We got flood zones. We get a lot of hurricanes and the likes, and just a lot of the national platforms don't have the buyers on their
Yeah.
list. So we are deep with buyers, but we're deep with relationships, which is really important in this market. So we'd love JVing with out-of-state investors.
Like I said, we do a ton of business with other investors. So go to homebuyerlouisiana.com/Courtney, fill out the information. We'll get in touch with you and we'll move this deal along.
$1,000 a month. And I had my first business when I was 20 years old, full-time college student, and a licensed real estate agent.
I love that because what attracted you to the daycare business in the first place?
Well, that's a good question. So we grew up paycheck to paycheck.
Mhm.
I mean, my family was not, we didn't do without, but we certainly didn't have extra. And there were many times that my family had to help my parents pay the house note, or my family had to help buy us homecoming clothes or new shoes for school. Buy, they didn't, we weren't going to starve, but they certainly helped provide food and cooked for us and things of that nature.
Right.
My family's arguments were always over money. And I always thought growing up that I wouldn't feel isolated, I wouldn't feel alone, I wouldn't feel unworthy if I just had more money.
Right.
And so I set out from an early age wanting to have money because I thought money would fix my insecurities.
Right.
That's why I became a real estate agent. But in 1995, my freshman year of high school, my mom opened a daycare.
Hmm.
And it was the first time in our history that we didn't live paycheck to paycheck. I saw what it did for our family's finances,
Mhm.
and I saw the kind of money that she was able to make from that. And I just happened to find a daycare for sale. I wasn't
Right.
looking for a daycare for sale.
Yeah.
I just happened to find one for sale. And so I thought, well,
It's familiarity.
this is for
Yeah.
sale. Mom knows how to do it. She can help me do it. Can I make this happen and make that kind of money?
Yeah.
And I stumbled into childcare. It wasn't until I bought the school. And look, I didn't have a cosigner. I didn't even tell my parents. They didn't even come look at this business. And I was 20 years old, which I would never let my kids do this now. Uh, just crazy. But I bought the daycare and then had them come look at it.
Yeah.
Um, but it was in that, Courtney, that I asked myself, if I'm going to own this business, then what does it mean to be a good early childhood educator?
Okay.
That sent me on this path of early childhood education and early childhood development. And when you look at what it happens when kids are being formed and
Yeah.
raised, and you look at what it takes to be a great salesperson today, right?
Right.
There's so many overlaps. And so I've been able to take that early childhood education and apply it to my coaching business, my podcast business, my sales business, my people business, because there's all kind of intricacies where both of those kind of worlds collide.
Yeah.
Anyway, I forgot your question,
Well,
but
no, but okay, so
that's
no,
how it all
so I
happened.
like that. So okay, so there was the previous familiarity,
Yep,
and I think I knew that. So then, and look, had you ever done a SBA loan or seller
never,
financing?
never.
But the thing is you can figure it out, right? You had the gumption to say, hey, I'm going to do this.
My real estate license changed my world. If anybody would ask me if there was a few silver bullets that helped me get where I'm at, getting my real estate license is one of them because it forced me to meet new people.
Yeah,
It forced me into conversations and situations, scenarios that I would never have had. It was because I was in real estate that I had the connection to the consultant that I hired for $5,000 to put together my package, who knew the bankers to
yeah.
go to and get me that loan. It was a relationship that
I,
that happened.
so now I'm intrigued. You said, your license was one of those things. What are some of those other silver bullets? Those monumental things along your path.
I was thinking today, it's the first day of school for for all of my kids. Yesterday, my baby started; she's in fourth grade. Today, my freshman daughter started with my junior son, and man, my son drives, so it was him and my daughter loading up in his car, and they're driving off to school, right?
Yeah,
And I stayed home this morning so that I could see them all off to school. It was a big milestone in our world. And so
right.
all my kids are healthy. All my
Yeah,
kids are secure in who they are.
Mhm.
We have a great family dynamic. We have a great family relationship.
Yeah.
We live in what I would say is my dream home that I have dreamed about having forever and ever and ever,
Mhm.
in a fantastic neighborhood. For me, I've been goal oriented a long,
Yeah.
long time. So I've seen this lifestyle that I'm living for the last 20 years,
Yeah.
right? I've seen it before I could receive it.
Right.
So today was the realization and the fruition of that dream coming to reality,
Yeah.
right? That it's just happening today, and I'm seeing them drive away and just filled with emotions because of the work and the intentionality, right?
Right.
And I start thinking, if somebody asked me, what did it take to get here? What would I tell them? If I could boil it down to one or two things, what would it be? And here's what I came up with. So it's funny that you asked me. Intentionality,
Yeah.
right? I've been intentional my
Yeah.
whole life. And two, I've been open minded.
Yeah.
I've been open minded. I've been a learner. I love people. I love helping people. I love to go to conferences. I love to read books. I love to listen to podcasts. I love to observe what other people are doing
Yeah.
and learn from that. So when you learn things and you're intentional, then you have so much of what it takes to actually take action towards your goal, and things just happen. So real estate license, intentionality. Like, I would not have gotten my real estate license had I not been being intentional,
Yeah.
you know? Um, and then um, getting in the right group of people. In 2018 is when my trajectory really changed a lot. I joined a tribe. We call it the Tribe of Millionaires. It's called Go Abundance.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
and
where we had a lot of the mutual friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and so, joined Go Abundance in 2018, and man, that just changed my world. I mean, you talk about fast track on exposure to
Yeah.
new ideas. I wouldn't have 72 doors that I have right now had I not learned and been inspired by the people inside of Go Abundance. I wouldn't have another 18 plus the co-living house if
Mhm.
I had not met people in Go Abundance that connected me to the banker that helped make this happen, right?
Yeah.
Which gave me the inspiration, the courage to say yes to the deal before I ever found the banker.
Yeah.
All that has happened because of intentionality, open mindedness, and then getting around the right people.
I love those things because so many people. So one of the gray-haired guys, he often says, your life's your fault, and I love it because I think the message, maybe a common message in life is that it's not your
Yeah,
fault.
yeah,
Oh, you're not what happened to you. All those things. But it really is one of those things. It's like, hey, that intentionality, those things are huge. Doing life by design versus by default. And
yep.
so many people again on that default path. And so it's when you say, hey, no, 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 I'm not gonna like keep following the herd. I'm going to say, hey, where do I want to go? And I want to go by design. I want to end up. I think those are huge. And so I want to ask you some I love these mindset things, but I want to ask you some technical
Okay.
questions. So, as a business owner, what have you loved as far as, or what do you prefer, buying businesses that are established or starting them from the ground up?
Uh, I've bought a couple of franchises,
Mhm.
and I have bought a couple of businesses, and I've started most
So
of the
you've
ones that
hit
have
the
been.
whole gamut.
I have. And knowing what I know now, I don't prefer the franchise model because I am independent minded. I like
Yeah,
autonomy. I've got 25 years of experience now, so a lot of what the franchises have offered, I don't utilize as much. They're not. I'm not saying they're not valuable.
they're just not valuable to someone with your
That's
experience.
right. That's right.
Yep.
Learned a lot from them. And so, from an educational standpoint of how they do certain things, that's been great. But so I'm not a fan of that. And where I'm at now in my life, I'm focusing on buying businesses and scaling them. So I'm creating the infrastructure, I'm creating the background operational entities, right? Which I'm calling a shared services management company that has accounting, marketing, operations, property management, maintenance, and things of that nature. I'm bringing that all in house. And then I'm going to use that, and they're going to do those businesses. They're going to do those skills, those trades for every one of the businesses that I own. And then I can go out and buy other businesses and drop it in the hopper, right? Every business needs sales and marketing.
Hmm.
So we'll have sales and marketing at shared services, and it'll just be divisional, right? This is the sales and marketing team for the flip business, for the leasing business, for the HVAC business, for the childcare business, for the talent business, whatever it is. We'll have sales and marketing
Hmm.
synergized. Same thing for accounting, HR, property maintenance, and those kind of things. So I'm building that, and I intend to start buying businesses next year
Okay.
and scaling them with the back office that we have.
Yeah, I think that's important because a lot of people they're like, "Oh, I want to go buy a business that's established," which is great. But at the same time, you've got to be able to, you know, handle it. You've got to be able to step
Yeah,
into those
yeah,
shoes, right? But then at the same time, people are like, "Hey, well, I'm gonna go start a business." Well, man, you've got Mount Everest in front of you that you just have to overcome, right?
yeah.
The big dip that Seth Godin talks about, right? You have to make it through that dip of those beginning years, and then you start getting traction, and then you have something to build upon. So, so you have businesses, and for as long as I've known you, you've always been very ambitious, very much a big thinker. So when you think about where you want to end up, that good life, what role does businesses play and what role does real estate play?
That's a good question. Business is the short answer. The way I look at it is the business is cash flow and the real estate is wealth.
Define
Um,
the difference because most people think cash flow when they think real estate.
well, I love cost segregation
Mhm,
and depreciation and tax mitigation. I
mhm.
also love the passivity of real estate.
Yeah.
Whenever I sell a service as a business, it's usually people dependent. And whenever I own real estate, my four walls and the roof is what I'm providing to that customer, right?
Mhm.
And four walls and a roof, they're not going to call in sick.
Yeah.
They're not going to have issues, right? And if they do, they're usually not detrimental and it doesn't let my service down or
Yeah.
the level of service down for a 24 to 48-hour period, right? Sure, things break, things, right? But I've got maintenance folks that can go in there and fix
Yeah.
that.
You can
Uh,
mitigate those.
I can, and I still get the same amount
Yeah.
of revenue every month. So it's important for me. Like right now, my goal, I have not quantified this, Courtney. So for the next couple of weeks, I'm
Hmm.
quantifying this, but I have a goal of $200 million in
Hmm.
profit in 10 years from now.
Hmm.
I don't know where all that money is going to come from, what business sector, what division. I also have a goal of 25,000 doors in 10 years from now.
Hmm.
I don't know how much profit those doors will produce, but I've got those two numbers kind of being, they're loose, in my head loosely.
Sure.
Um, with that being said, I think service business is great. I think systemizing service businesses is great. And I also think that an exit strategy on service businesses that work in unison with each other is a great play for 10 years from now to help
Means
me
selling
level
them.
up. Yes,
Yeah.
to exit, to sell,
Yep.
to help me level up for what I really want to do beyond 10 years from now.
Mhm.
The real estate play is the passivity, it's the insurance. It's also part of my mission, which is to provide affordable housing to people.
Yeah.
And I want to be in control of the affordable housing. So
Yeah.
if I'm working with a group of people, coaching them and helping them live the good life, right? I know that you can have all the money in the world and no time, and that's not the good life. You can have
Yeah.
all the time in the world and no money, and that's probably not the good life either.
Yeah.
You can have time and money and no key relationships, not the good life, right? So,
Yep.
time, money, key relationships, and physical health.
Yeah.
But to do that in a tactical, real way, people need affordable housing,
Yeah.
right? And so I want to be a provider of that affordable housing for whomever, right? If I'm coaching a group of foster kids that never got adopted and they age out of foster care, I want to teach them how to be a realtor, a financial investor, a real estate investor, and to have financial wellness,
Hmm.
right? To do that, you have to have discretionary income. And to have discretionary income, you have to have affordable housing, unless you have a really killer job, right?
Right.
So it provides resources for me. I told you at the top of the podcast that I want to be a super connector.
Yeah.
I want to have the affordable house. Hey, you need an affordable house? I have that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to call in a favor.
Yeah.
I just want to do it, right? I want the businesses so that if those people need a job, I don't want to call in a favor. I got a job for you,
Yeah.
right? And then I can provide the services to our customers as well through those services that we offer. So I think they go hand in hand.
That's very interesting. So, okay, so the businesses that you own, the real estate that you have. Let's talk more. We've talked a lot about the businesses. Let's talk about the real estate. What strategies are you focusing on right now? So, I've heard you mention a few. But let's kind of talk through like what different strategies are you currently
I
doing?
would say the umbrella strategy that I have right now is do it all.
Mm.
That's sort of what drives my lead generation. So, in my apartments and my affordable housing world, we're generating tenant leads,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes I can take those tenant leads and sell a house to them. Sometimes I can take those tenant leads and find employees or partners out of those folks, right?
Right.
Sometimes those tenant leads they can become a coaching student.
Right.
And then over here on the other side, where I'm selling houses as a builder, a flipper, they might not qualify, and I can put them in one of my apartments, right?
Right.
So cross selling right now is important to me because it's
Sure.
effective, affordable lead gen and
Right.
lead conversion. And I think that your business is your database. So
Mhm.
it's offering us a lot of different venues and opportunities to grow our database, to then own our database with whatever we decide to sell or
Right.
promote. So renting houses, building spec houses from scratch, and then flipping houses so that we can have
Yeah.
a more affordable product faster than buying land, developing it, and building from scratch.
Exactly.
Trying to stay under $300,000. Love the 225 market right now, and sometimes we can find a 185 or 200 in a flip world.
So I love that. And now a lot of people, so in the greater Baton Rouge area, but our area, 2023 got hard.
Yeah.
Real fast, real quick. The market, I mean, between the interest rates, the insurance rates, all that. What did that look like for you?
We scaled back for sure. We tried to examine our expenses, cut cost. We cut staffing, we cut office space, we cut out some of the lead gen opportunities. We tried to conserve some of our expenses,
Yeah.
and we did that pretty quickly. And I'm fortunate and glad that we did.
Yeah.
But it also is what fueled my flip business, so that I could get affordable housing that I didn't have to right create from scratch. Right,
Mhm.
I can create affordable housing if I find it on the front side as affordable.
Right.
So that's really how we were able to scale our flip business in
Yeah.
2023 as a result of that. But we cut back and then we stay the course. We cut back and we stay the course. We have a saying around here that what you celebrate thrives, what you don't dies.
Mhm.
And so we have a culture that involves gratitude and celebrations, and starting every meeting off with what are we celebrating? How did we help somebody? How did somebody win because of what we were able to connect them to?
Yeah.
And that has helped sustain us. And look, we've lost some people. Our sales team is smaller than it's ever been in
Sure.
a
A lot of
while.
people leave in the industry.
They
Yeah.
are. And now we are grateful that we did because we're starting to grow again. We've expanded our office count here. We're getting ready to launch an online with some in-person educational content for folks to recruit
Mm.
and attract talent to come work with us, and to teach them good life values and principles,
Yeah.
goal setting strategies, regardless if they work for us or not.
So I like that. You were talking about how like having the education arm be something that attracts talent, because ultimately, if you can, through education, expose people, you may say, hey, this could, I could place these people, whether it's in a low level or a higher level job, right?
Yep.
And using it for talent. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say it that way. So I've really enjoyed hearing you talk about that. And I'll be honest, most people were not scaling a flip business in 2023. They were struggling,
Sure.
right? And so, what do you think the difference was with you guys?
I have to attribute my reputation
Mhm.
to something.
Mhm.
uh, I have to, my contacts, my connections,
Yeah.
my tribe. I do have a coach. I've had a great coach.
Mhm.
I have to give him a shout out, Ron Patulski. He's been in my head literally for maybe 3 years now.
Mhm.
But he's a mindset and performance coach. I have a call with him every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He addresses the drunk monkey. I'm able to talk things through. We interrogate belief systems, programming, and things that make us feel a certain way, that act a certain way. And I just confront those things head on, have not stopped, didn't cut back
Mhm.
on coaching through the, I guess we could call it recession. So that was a staple. I will tell you that I've always thought that being an entrepreneur is so easy and anybody could do it.
Mhm.
And I said to my wife last year, you know what? For the first time in my life, I've changed my mind.
Mhm.
Marriage was hard.
Mhm.
Being a husband and a dad was hard. Carrying the burden and the stress of cutting back, laying people off,
Yeah.
making tough decisions. It got hard. It got hard. It wasn't like it was hard at work and then you got to go home and it was just easy. It
Yeah.
was hard. It was hard.
Yeah.
Um, but we have a commitment, right? Like I know that it don't matter how hard it gets,
Yeah.
we ain't getting a divorce. We ain't leaving, right? So we confronted those challenges head on.
Yeah.
Uh, the same thing with business, right? It's possible.
Yeah.
People, there ain't a single person that I know that's successful that didn't go through hard times.
Right.
So staying connected with those people, obviously Ron helped make those decisions more palatable, helped sustain the fire to keep waking up every day and showing up at the office. Um, and I think a combination of all those things. But when it comes to flip business, there were people in that tough time that had money they wanted to lend.
Mhm.
And so we didn't have to go to the banks.
Mhm.
And we could create our own financing structures for those flips. And that's where my reputation and my connections with those folks really came in help because
Yeah.
I just made phone calls. Hey, do you want to do this deal? You don't have to do the deal. I never came from a position of need,
Yeah.
right? Hey, I've got some opportunities. I can give you double digit returns. Do you want to do this? You don't have to, but you can if you want to.
Yeah.
And I have more money, more investors than I do deals as a
Yeah.
result of that. And so, fortunately, they came to the table and they funded every one of our deals. Um, we funded some of our own, just depended on the deal, right, and the
Right.
amount and the timing and things of that nature.
Yeah.
And we didn't blow our money either. So the money we made, we've hoarded
Yeah.
and we've kept so that for the two deals that we made that were bad,
Yeah.
we could just write a check for it. And that was a really good blessing. And
Yeah.
maybe we started at the right time so that we didn't have more than two deals and we didn't have a lavish lifestyle of spending the money that we made and things of that nature.
Well, and I think that's huge because a lot of people don't have the discipline of keeping, playing some defense while you're playing
Sure.
offense. And so I think that's critical. I'm curious, what's a drunk monkey?
That is that monkey that is drunk and lives on your shoulder all the
Hmm.
time. And whenever you feel fearful, prideful, anxious, shameful, guilty, and those little stupid thoughts come through your mind that make you feel unworthy or less than or not
Hmm.
capable, that's the drunk monkey talking to you. And so when you are aware of this drunk monkey, then you can tell the drunk monkey to F off,
Right.
right?
That's drunk monkey. Shut up.
I'm not
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
You are not me. I'm not my thoughts. Get off
Yeah.
of me. Get behind me, right? Some people might say, get behind me, Satan.
Right.
We just refer to it as the drunk monkey.
Yeah.
And the awareness of that is key because
Yeah.
then you can acknowledge it and say, you know what? I do feel this way, but that's not really true. That's not indicative of who I am.
Right.
I'm not going to follow that. And then you can decide to lead with courage, take the steps, and hopefully make a good decision.
I like that. So, 2023 was hard for a lot of people. If anyone said it wasn't hard generally in our industry and in our area, they're lying or they weren't in the game.
Sure.
Is one of the two. And so, what do you think looking forward? Um, do you have any thoughts about what the next 12 months are going to look like?
I'm ready for it to just be gangbusters. I really am.
Hmm.
I think that the interest rates are going to move in a direction that are going to help us. I do. I think that we're poised with some good deals that are out there. I think that there's still good deals out there right now.
Hmm.
You got to shake the tree.
Yep.
You got to be creative. You got to face all the headwinds and ask not why I can't do it, but how can I do it? Right? What
Exactly.
does it take to win? How can I do it? Um, I think that flippers and new construction people are going to be the people that have the margins to give the incentives,
Hmm.
whereas typical home sellers won't or won't
Yeah.
be willing. And so, for a flipper, a remodeler, and a new home builder that can build the margins in on the front end, probably not going to make the same margins that we used to make,
Yeah.
but that's okay. You just have to do a little more deals, and we're already in the deal
Yeah.
making business, so who cares?
Right.
So I think that's going to drive a lot of business for us because we have the margins to whether it's buy down rates, do some owner financing, get our own financing, and do some sub twos, wraparound mortgages, or whatever to help make deals happen.
Yeah. I like that,
I'm
man.
hopeful.
Yeah. Look, you know, it's a good thing to be hopeful.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I told you this question was going to come, so I love to ask this. What is one lesson that if you learned it sooner, your career, your path would have, grown exponentially?
Yeah, I would say it's getting exposure to other people and how they're winning, right? Open my eyes up, see who's winning, and be more intentional about getting into a relationship with those people. It wasn't until 2018 when I really submitted myself to that group of people in
Yeah.
GoBundance that the ideas, the options, and the confidence, the courage was all born. So ultimately, I'd say the lesson that you become like the five people you spend the most time with. If you're unhappy, then you got to change the people that you hang out with.
Yeah, and I love that. I mean, even back when you were 20, you said you hired what, a coach that helped you get the SBA loan and all that stuff. It's understanding that, like, hey, I've got to, what I don't know is just a path of, it's, I just don't haven't met the person who knows how to help me know
Sure,
that,
sure.
right?
But even back then, right, I made that decision based on my current circumstances.
Yeah.
The daycare was in front of me for sale. My mom
Yep.
was in the daycare business, so I should be in the daycare business. Really, what I should have asked is, how do I win? Who's winning?
Yeah.
Who's winning big? Who's making the money that I want to make? Who's doing that?
Yeah.
I would not have found daycare people doing that,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't. I would have
Right.
found that real estate investors,
Yeah.
right, that are doing that, business owners are doing that, and it would have shaped my direction to go get into relationships with those people sooner
Yeah.
than what I did. So I took the long road because I started by just looking around me.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
I like that, man. And so, you know, for people who are listening to this, maybe they're in the greater Baton Rouge area or whatnot. What are the best ways that they can, get in touch with you?
I like to give out my cell phone number because
You're a bold
nobody
man.
nobody ever takes me up on it. So we'll see what your listeners do, and if they are
Sure.
hungry enough to reach out to me, send me a text message. So I'm going to give my cell phone number. Just text me,
Hmm.
and then WyattGraves.com. That's a website that I'm currently rebranding to be sort of like um, the first doorway into my world.
Hmm.
And all of my other links to businesses and things like that will be from there.
Yeah.
So WyattGraves.com, and then my cell phone number is 225
Mhm.
235 7223.
All right. Well, we'll put it in the show notes so
Yeah,
people can access
awesome.
both of them. And look, man, I always enjoy the conversations.
Same,
I appreciate again that intentionality and everything that you're putting forward. And so, and I love that. I've always enjoyed the good life concept. And so,
for sure.
appreciate you joining the conversation today.
Glad to be here.